Hello and welcome again to Bruno Latour in 12 Easy Pieces. In this episode, I will talk about another book that is familiar to anyone who is familiar with my work in science and technology studies or the sociology and the anthropology of science. The Pasteurization of France was published in English in 1988, but had already released been in French in 1984. Following Laboratory Life, it is thus the first book for which I am responsible on my own. What's the book about? Well, as the title suggests, it's about Louis Pasteur, the 19th century French chemist and physicist who made decisive contributions to modern medicine through his work in microbiology, bacteriology, and hygiene. In large part, the scientific evidence for the practice of vaccinating humans and animals to prevent infectious diseases can be traced back to him. Now, Pasteur is extremely well known in France. Every city has a Pasteur Street or a Pasteur Square. There are numerous films about him, and the term pasteurization as the name for a process of food preservation has become proverbial. So it's no surprise that many historians of science studied Pasteur's life and times. But why did I take an interest in this truly famous figure again? Well, on the one hand, because I saw him as a kind of precursor to Jonas Salk, the microbiologist who played a key role in the discovery of the polio vaccine and whom I had met in California at the Salk Institute a few years earlier. On the other hand, I regarded Pasteur as the main representative of the scientific religion, one could say, of the 19th century, that is, the unconditional belief in science. In addition, I should mention I was involved in a larger project at the time that dealt with the social and cultural history of Pasteurian science. We were interested in the acceptance and dissemination of Pasteur's insight by other physicians and scientists, but also by politicians responsible for hygiene, urban planning, and similar issues. Now, that is also why Pasteur himself is not the focus of my research. What I examine in the book are three biomedical journals from the Pasteur context in which doctors, politicians, and other actors express their views on diseases, vaccinations, and other issues from around 1870 to 1920. Now, I looked at the relevant publications in these journals and evaluated them with view to how society was depicted and discussed in them. The result was interesting because society was understood here in a very different way than, for example, in sociology, which we should not forget emerged around the same time. The Pasteurians understood it to be an enormously complex structure shaped by industry, technology, and science, but also by a specific form of biopolitics, especially hygiene. For me, This amounted to an early version of what I would later call an actor network. Because it's not just humans who played a role in Pasteurian society, but also animals, microbes, or what we would call today bacteria and viruses. However, that is only the first part of the book. My homework as a historically informed science scholar, so to speak. The second, equally important part is purely philosophical. There I attempt to translate Pasteur's perspective on society into a general theory of actor networks. The central insight of this general theory is, a quote from the book, nothing can be reduced to anything else. Nothing can be deduced from anything else. Everything may be allied to everything else.
You mean Bruno Latour cannot be reduced to a Bruno puppet?
What was I saying? Nothing can be reduced to anything else. Everything may be allied to everything else. That sounds very postmodern. I know, like another version of the famous anything goes. However, my term for this idea is irreductionism, and I deem it to be crucial for contemporary thought. According to this philosophical doctrine, all entities in a given society, that is, every actor and every network, are expressions and or effects of translations and mediations. So they result from what one actor in a given network says about another and how he or she gains power over the other actor through his or her statements. For example, Pasteur over the microbes. The pasteurization of France is therefore not simply a rationalization of this country based on Pasteur's lesson, but the advancement, translation, and mediation of a specific combination of knowledge and power, reason and force, insight and politics.
You mean the puppetization of France?
In other words, this pasteurization is nothing but a specific form of exegesis, of reading and translating statements, which, as you know by now, is one of my favorite ideas. I will talk more about this in the next episode, where we will deal with science in action, my next book. So that was the fourth easy piece. Thanks for watching and looking forward to seeing you again soon.